1,000 subs. I can't believe it. Hey, what's up, guys? It's Sir Emanon here, and this is the very, very special 1,000 subscriber special video. I can't believe we got here, and I want to thank each and every one of you guys so much for helping me reach this milestone. It honestly was kind of just, sort of a vision that I had that I didn't really think I would achieve, at least not this quickly. I kind of was thinking it'd be cool if I could get to this by the end of 2019 and see, where we can go from there. But we actually achieved this so much faster than I ever could have imagined, and I want to say thanks to you guys for everything. I really do mean it. But for today's video, we are going to do a Q&A, as I've been mentioning over the past couple of videos these past few days. And these are grabbed from my Twitter and my Discord. If you have not joined those, I would implore you to do so. The links are going to be in the description box down below, as always. But yeah, I also have a very, very special announcement that I'm going to save till the end of this video. So if you guys want to know what the logo in the thumbnail is and the opening screen, be sure to stay tuned for that. But anyways, I'm going to be doing something a little bit silly here, and that is I'm going to answer these questions with a little friend of mine, if you will. So yeah, here is my first little friend here. We got a bunch more, don't worry, there will be a new penguin for each question here. But let's go ahead and get into these questions. So Aberdeen asks, where did the name Sir Emanon come from? It's actually pretty simple and kind of boring. Basically, when I started playing League of Legends back in 2013, I didn't really have any good online aliases. So I came up with a new one and I couldn't think of anything, so I literally just took no name and flipped it backwards, and that's how you get Emanon. And then I put Sir in front of it because I didn't know what genre League was. My sister actually got me into the game. I didn't know like how MOBAs worked or anything like that. I thought it was like some sort of like fantasy, like, I don't know. For some reason, whenever my mind thought Legends, I thought it would be sort of like medieval times or whatever, so I don't know, it was like the nerdiest thing. But yeah, looking back on it, it's pretty funny. But yeah, that's how I got my name. Kogari asks, how did you get into Yu-Gi-Oh? So, I guess we can go all the way back to when I was a kid. I'm sure many of us as kids played the game, and we all got into it by the original TV show, the anime, the original Duel Monsters series that was airing on TV. So yeah, I got hooked on the show like many other kids, and it was a very, very widespread fad throughout, elementary schools all across the country. So yeah, this was when I was around, I want to say like 6 or 7, so that's when I got into it. And my parents would buy me like stray packs here and then, but like never anything too serious. But fast forward to 5th grade, I got back into it a little bit more. There was a club in my middle school, and we played for a little bit, and it was pretty fun. But again, that only lasted about a year, so that kind of dropped too. So the first time I really got into the game as I know it now was actually in my freshman year of college. This was in 2017. So I actually discovered somehow, like I was kind of on YouTube, I think, and some videos popped up in my feed, and I discovered, hey, Yu-Gi-Oh is actually still going pretty strong here. And I wanted to like try and see if there are people who actually played around my area, and my university actually had a Yu-Gi-Oh group that people would meet up and play. Yeah, that's how I got into the game, and that's how my interest was honestly piqued by the fact that the game is a lot faster and more complex, and it's just a lot different of a game than it was back then, and there's a whole lot of strategy to it that I really, really enjoyed and appreciate. So, and I still appreciate it to this day, in fact. So that's my origin story. Reggie asks, what was the first deck that you ever played? And this is actually shared by a YouTube comment by Blightslinger. So the first deck that I ever played, so I guess if we're counting all the way back when I was a kid, it was just a mishmash of my favorite cards at the time, or the cards I thought were the most powerful. Attack points were a very, very, determining factor of cards that I considered good. So it was like Dark Blade, Kaiser Seahorse, and then I had like a bunch of Act of Despair, so the obligatory favorites. I didn't really own any like expensive cards, or I didn't know what holographic cards were either back then, so I just played with what I had. So I didn't own like Mirror Force or like Raigeki or any of those cards. I just played with like Monster Reborn, Dark Hole, Lightning Vortex was like a big favorite of mine, Sakuretsu Armor. So it was like it was like a very weak form of GOAT format. That was like my very first deck. But the first deck that I played when I got back into the game in my freshman year of college was Tellar Knights. So like I wanted to play a deck that I thought was budget and could compete at the time, and my friend group from my university suggested Tellarknights, and I bought the core for like $30 for my friend Brent, and I thought that was really expensive at the time. Little did I know that I'd be deep into this game about 2.5 years later, so here we are now, I guess. Aberdeen and Reggie both ask, what was the first competitive deck that I played? So I got into the game got back into the game, like I said, my freshman year of college. So that was around February 2017, which was about a week before Raging Tempest came out, so I was right in the height of Zoo format. I tried to make Tellarknights competitive within my very constrained budget, but obviously by nature it's not a competitive deck. So I think when I started getting into the game a bit more towards the end of summer of that year, 2017, I picked up True Draco, and I still didn't own like all the diagrams. They were still quite expensive back then. So I borrowed cards from my friends quite a lot, but I did own like one copy of Diagram and then like the rest of the core. So yeah, True Draco was actually the first competitive deck that I had. And it's crazy to think that I went from like control decks to sort of like now combo deck. It's funny that like generally now a lot of my content on my channel is featuring a very, very combo oriented deck, which is drastically different from my roots, I guess you can say. Guard Dragon Agripane asks, how did you choose Lunaloy Orkest? Was Lunaloy always a pet project, or did you see other successes with the deck and work from there? So I actually enjoy the Lunaloy archetype just as a pure strategy by itself. Shoutouts to my very close friend and mod Kingdom for actually introducing me to the archetype way back then, and then to the YouTuber Azalea, who really got me interested in like actual variations of builds and kind of encouraged me to take my own direction with the deck. So I actually really don't like Orkests that much as far as like, pigeonholing them into the strategy. Like I always liked building Lunalights more on the cards, like the Lunalight engine. Yeah, Lunalight was always a deck that I wanted to be good. I picked up the core even prior to Collider Chick's release. So I was playing online with the deck for quite a while too, and this was back when I didn't really invest in the game too much, like money-wise, but I was still very much interested in the archetype. And then with the release of Collider Chick, I started playing around with it more, a bit casually at locals, but it was like a more pure strategy. So fast forward to the Legendary Duelist set, the Sisters of the Rose, that came out in January this year. When the support got leaked in the OCG, I immediately hopped on Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro and started like, putting the cards in and like seeing what combos I can do. And I came up with a lot of like really, really wacky combos, even involving the fusions. And those were some good times. Like I spent a lot of time just sitting down and testing. And that winter break, I kind of also did the same thing. And that's when I started like posting some Lunaloy content on my channel. I really wanted to, put the deck on the map a little bit, and I took the deck to a regional the weekend that the cards got released, like the Yellow Martin and Serenade Dance and Emerald Bird. So yeah, I played it with the Phantom Knights and Dangers, and like I had the whole Azathoth combo too. Like it was before anyone was really playing the Azathoth build. Yeah, that's kind of how I started with like the deck. And then as the ban list naturally transitioned, it became more Orkest favored because Phantom Knight, Rusty Bardish got banned. So like that really hurt a lot. I have an entire video on Rusty, but yeah, that's kind of like the origin of the Lunalight content on this channel. Dill asks, how do you win the mirror match, and also what's your favorite deck of all time? So by mirror match, I'm going to be assuming that you mean the Lunalight Orkest mirror match, because I don't think we're going to be playing Penguin mirror matches anytime soon. But as far as the Lunalight mirror match is concerned, it is kind of just a toss-up. Like, if you go first, you basically just set up Dweller, and that is almost an auto win. Like, very, very, very convincingly. It's very strong. If you set up the Orkest combo with it, like you can win going first. If you're going second and it's a game one, just try and break their board and set up your own Dweller if you can. Like, it's pretty hard to, but that's what you gotta try and do. Post side, you just gotta put in your cards if you're going second, like Lancia and other hand traps. I would suggest those kinds of side cards. And if you're going first, just build your board and you generally win. As far as my favorite side deck, or not favorite side deck, my favorite deck of all time. Gosh, It would have to be between Lunalights and Burning Abyss. Those are the top 2 favorite decks. And it's weird because I don't really have BA content on this channel. I just never really felt like I was the BA guy. I don't know, but I really actually like BA a lot. I think it's a very strong toolbox engine. It's been around for a very long time, as we all know. It has the ability to be very offensive or be very defensive if the meta calls for either. It can be splashed in a lot of things and vice versa. Yeah, I think, you know, Lunalight for obvious reasons, and then Burning Abyss are my favorite decks. Guard Dragon Agripane asks, now that Lunalight Orkest has become very popular, what is the best advice you would give to someone who wants to learn the deck? So I would say, aside from shamelessly plugging my own videos, I think that it's just very fundamental that you understand the core underlying foundational mechanics of the deck. And what I mean by that is, like, it's nice to, you know, obviously learn what the combos are and, you know, how to perform them, which is the reason why I put combo videos up there. But it's very important that, like, you don't just look at that in a vacuum and, you know, actually get experience with the decks. So, like, play test with it against friends, at locals, whatever you have to do. Practice going second, and you'll sort of start to understand exactly, like, what resources you have to hold, or how you can play through board states, how you play around hand traps, all these different things. I think learning sequencing is pretty important, like knowing which cards to use first if you're trying to, like, force certain cards, or, you know, do other things of that nature. But yeah, it's really important that like, you just understand the way that the deck wants to, you know, sort of function, and then use the Orkest as sort of, like, I guess, the finisher, right? Like, once you bait out all their negations, for example, if you're going second with the Lunalight cards, you can then go in with the Orkest combo and then finish your opponent. So, like, that's kind of like the general gist of the deck, I would say. And I think that, you know, just as with most decks, understanding practice, or understanding, like, the best practices, playing with the deck yourself, and, you know, spending some time learning about the theory with the deck as well. Those are all very good general tips that I can say for not just this deck, for any deck in general. Alright, Reggie asks, what format or formats do you think were the most influential to competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! As a whole? Which format or formats do you think contributed the least to the competitive Yu-Gi-Oh!, be it in cards that were released, shifts in how Yu-Gi-Oh! Is played, etc.? So I gotta put on my, like, historian cap, because I actually didn't play through a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh!'s history. But I do actually know quite a bit of it by reading and watching videos and all this other stuff. So I can give a little bit of insight. I think, as far as, like, formats that were very influential, I would say Cyber Dragon. It basically ended GOAT format, like OG Cyber Dragon. It ended GOAT format. It basically was the reason why a lot of power creep actually happened initially, being that, like, special summons were considered, like, the premium for card quality in terms of, like, getting pressure on the board efficiently. I'm sure there's many, like, I'm really not actually that familiarized with around, like, I would say 2007 throughout, like, 2012-ish. Like, that area I'm pretty hairy on, so if, you know, any of you guys know, then that'd be very useful to know. But thinking more modern era Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards, I would say Zoo format for sure changed the game. Just, like, the way that Zoo was so splashable and everything. Obviously, we can mention Pepe, Dragon Rulers, like, all those kind of things. Like, even, like, Double Helix and Circuit Break for Spiral format. Like, any of, like, the big named formats where, like, really strong tier 1 decks or tier 0 decks emerged. Obviously, those changed the way Yu-Gi-Oh! Was played, in that, you know, people had to really adapt to the power creep and just the overall general course of the game. As far as things that contributed least to Yu-Gi-Oh!, I don't think that's, like, really a thing, because, like, every single format affects Yu-Gi-Oh! In some way, like the competitive landscape. And when you really analyze it at a micro level, like, every single week things change, and, you know, deck lists change throughout events, which, you know, and in between events as well. So, like, people always have to adapt, even if, you know, cards aren't being released, or the format isn't changing, or, like, ban lists aren't really changing. But yeah, like, I think, like, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a constantly evolving game, so naturally everything is going to be impactful, at least to some degree, and I don't think it's really, you know, it's not really, like, a matter of what impacted the game the least. It's just a matter of, you know, what was really dynamic, as opposed to what kind of, you know, didn't affect the game quite as much. Kingdom asks, what is a deck or archetype that you wish was good other than penguins? I mean, obviously penguins, but like, actually, I really like the Christian archetype. I think it's really cool that you can be interactive on your opponent's turn. And I really, really like that concept. I think it was like explored by some other decks too, like Yang Zings can do it as well. But like just the interactivity that you can have on your opponent's turn, like you're not setting up an insanely oppressive board, but like you can flex into a lot of things to disrupt your opponent. I think that's really, really cool. I think the problem with the deck is, besides the fact that Mastery of War really, really kind of hurt it, I think we need more toolboxing cards that like actually are more effective, and the ability to make multiple of them. Because right now, like once you make like say a Crystron Quarian Ganvax, say a Crystron Phoenix, or your Trishula, your Black Rose, like those kinds of cards, like you can't really make another one, even if we're not in Mastery of 4. Like the problem with Mastery of 4 with that deck is like now you have to clear your extra deck monsters to make new ones. But like even if we're on your Mastery of 4, like you generally can't make multiple disruptions on your opponent's turn. And I think that's like, you know, kind of the big weakness of that deck. Aside from the fact that it's really not very good at all going second, but yeah, that's a deck that I really think is cool in design, and I wish was, you know, a bit better. Reggie asks, what made you want to play Yu-Gi-Oh competitively? So I think just by nature of a person, I'm a very analytical person. I very much like to delve into strategy, and once I get interested in a particular game or just any subject matter in general, I like to kind of dive into it as much as I can if I'm like really interested in it, which explains like why I don't really play too many video games or like, you know, other things. I kind of like put all my energy as far as like hobbies are concerned into Yu-Gi-Oh, and like League of Legends still a little bit to an extent, but like, you know, as far as hobbies are concerned, like I put a lot of emphasis and focus onto Yu-Gi-Oh, so I feel like if I'm putting that much effort to it, I should be trying to like, you know, be the best that I can, and that naturally lends itself towards competition. And I think that the game is, you know, while the prize support is a little bit, you know, lacking and leaves a bit to be desired, I think that generally the atmosphere of competition is great for Yu-Gi-Oh right now. You know, regional attendances are at a very, very high point, and we are seeing a lot of YCS success as well. And the fact of the matter being that like this game is very, very cerebral and left-brained just inherently, with a lot of decision trees and strategy, theory, in-the-moment decision-making, all these things, I think it is a very, very, you know, good competitive game as far as, you know, just the way it's designed. And I think that striving to be the best that you can at whatever your craft is, whether it is like a profession or a hobby, either way, I like to think that putting your heart and soul into whatever you really believe in is really the way to go. So that's kind of my cheesy explanation of that. Zeog asks, what are 3 tips for aspiring players to get good at the game? So as far as like, you know, optimizing your competition is concerned, which is how I'm going to interpret getting good at the game, I would say the first tip I have is to spend a lot of time on theory. Theory is something that players, I feel, don't emphasize on enough. Like, you see a lot of actually really, really consistently topping players not actually playtest a lot as far as like online play or locals or like even regionals, but like you see, you know, some people occasionally show up to YCSs and just top at whatever rare appearances that they can make. And that's because they spend a lot of time prior to the event, you know, just thinking about the format, about what deck they plan on playing, what deck they think is the best, side decking, like just general ways that cards interact with one another. All these different factors, I think, lend themselves to players like Ryan Levine and Noah Green. Those are like 2 players who don't really attend like a lot of, I guess, like regionals or locals, or to my knowledge at least, from what I've seen. But whenever they do enter like YCSs or premier events, they always seem to do really well. And a large part of that, as I've seen in like their AMAs on Reddit and stuff, is because of theory and the fact that you can really learn a lot just by talking to other people and kind of like formulating opinions on, you know, what optimal lines of play there are, or like the strongest deck building choices, or, you know, just the most powerful strategies in general. So like, of course playtesting is important. Like I said earlier, I don't want to contradict myself here, but I think theory is like definitely a more sound way of approaching, you know, the way that you view the game more so than results, because statistically speaking, the number of results that you have to have in order to make up the difference for the statistical number of possibilities for any given outcome available are just inhuman. Like, you can't play tens of thousands of games in order to get like a strong enough sample size. So you really have to just think about what is theoretically correct. So that's my first tip. The second tip is to keep a strong mental. And this is something that I've been personally trying to fix myself for a long time. I was very, very bad with tilt and getting down on myself, and I was honestly the biggest obstacle holding myself back. Like, I would go maybe like X2 at a regional and, you know, miss out on the top 8, or like maybe miss out on invites like in my earlier you know, competitive days by just like one round, and I would beat myself up so much. It was so unhealthy and it was really, really bad. But you really just can't let mistakes bog you down. Like, they're all learning experiences, and you just need to look at it with a clear mind and from a logical perspective. What can you do to improve? And basically, you know, not try and shift your losses onto like variance. Obviously, bad luck happens. It's a card game, but like, if there's anything within your control, which oftentimes there is, if you can help mitigate that to any degree and take that into your future games, I think that's something that is really, really important to just keep in mind and to carry with you throughout your entire competitive career. And the third thing that I would say is to just formulate good social groups as well as good habits. So what I mean by this is, you want to be able to play against players who are consistently doing well, ideally players who you consider better than yourself, so you can actually learn from your playtesting sessions. Obviously, playtesting is nice to see if like your theory is correct, at least to some extent. You want people who are going to be positive, who will be picking you up if you are down, and vice versa. You know, you want to be creating a very positive testing environment, as well as, you know, having good habits as far as, you know, objective playtesting is concerned. You can do things like testing with like open hands and stuff, and other things that will help you to actually, you know, improve your line of play rather than just like mindlessly playing against you know, people over and over again. I think just, you know, getting into the habit of really, really, you know, focusing on the very minor details, like, because those can add up very, very fast. Like, just trying to clean up as many mistakes as you can, which kind of like ties into the second point, but like, always be able to grow from your mistakes in the future. So those are my 3 big tips. Kingdom asks, what encouraged you to start making videos? So I actually just enjoyed the idea of, like, you know, putting content out there that you really believe in. And when I was watching YouTubers when I was younger, like, not even like, you know, gaming channels, but just like YouTubers in general, I always like admired the fact that they could be very, very forward and outgoing and just put their personality on display for everybody to see. And I'm not the most outgoing person myself. I am actually more on the introverted side of things in general, which might seem kind of weird considering how like much I've been willing to put myself forward as of late. But I'm getting better about that, and I think that YouTubing has helped me come out of my shell a bit, as well as kind of, you know, give me some motivation to do the best that I can in this hobby that I take pretty seriously. So this kind of goes in tandem with the whole competitive thing. You know, being as informative as I can and trying to, I guess, teach people anything if at all possible. And if I can do that through means of YouTubing, then that's honestly I'm honestly very satisfied with that. So there's a lot of reasons for making videos, but like, I think it's super, super awesome to just have, like, you know, I guess, something to work towards. It's a creative endeavor that, you know, there's not really an end point, but like, you're still working towards just being the best you can. And I think it's like really awesome to just, you know, be a content creator. It's really a lot of fun too. So there's a lot of reasons, but yeah, those are some of the ones off the top of my head. Alright, so Dueling Dude asks, Happy Feet or Sursup and why? What is your favorite animated penguin and why? And your favorite species of penguin and why? So I'll start off with the species, because the answer is right here. This little guy is Gerard, the Gen 2 penguin. I really like Gen 2 penguins because they can, you know, have, I guess, sort of, what's the word? They can adapt pretty well between Antarctic climate and their mating areas. So they typically live in the Antarctic regions, but it's around the coastline, so it's not like right in the center of Antarctica like emperor penguins. But yeah, they tend to live in those areas, and then they can also move to like coastal areas, like shorelines. But like they generally nest in like grassy climates as well. So like they can be pretty adaptable. They're also the fastest swimming penguins in the world. So like their bodies are like a lot more slender than a lot of the other penguins, I guess you could say, because they're the third largest species, but they also they're also pretty slim in their design. So I think I don't know. I think they're cool. In addition to that, they actually, funnily enough, like to breed without waste. By that I mean like they really like cleanliness, more so than a lot of other penguin species, which I think is really cool considering the fact that we gotta protect our environment, man. But yeah, they're my favorite species of penguin. My favorite animated penguin is actually Mumble from Happy Feet, which is my answer to the first question. So yeah, this is one of the reasons why is that I actually do have Cody as well from Surf's Up, but I got Mumble as my second penguin ever. The first penguin that you saw in the entire video was actually the first penguin I ever got when I was 9. So he's coming up on 13 years old, almost. So yeah, that's a fun fact there. But I really like Happy Feet because one, it came out a year earlier than Surf's Up, and two, it actually spreads a pretty important message about penguins, as well as the idea of overfishing being a very harmful detriment, and trying to like spread that message across. I feel like Surf's Up was less about penguins and more about just dudes trying to I guess be having gnarly time on the beach. I don't know. Like it's a good movie, but I think Happy Feet owned in more on the penguins, and it was the OG penguin movie, animated movie. So gotta go with Happy Feet here, wombo combo. But yeah, that's the answer to that. Destroyer asks, do you watch anime, and is there a show you consider watching? The answer is no, because I waste enough time as it is already on Yu-Gi-Oh! And other stuff. So I don't need to waste the very scarce time that I already don't have to something else that is very time consuming. People have suggested me to watch My Hero Academia, and Destroyer himself, who asked this question, also suggested Toradora. So those are some things that have been suggested to me. Also, there is a penguin anime that I don't remember its name, but I'll put it on the screen. I'm sure you guys who do watch anime are familiar with it, but yeah, those are my thoughts on anime and why I don't have time to watch it. And the final question of the day goes to Doctor Who asks, why are you so sick at Yu-Gi-Oh? And the real answer is I'm not. I just play a lot and I have a lot of time to test and do theory and stuff. But the honest answer is penguins give me power. Alright, so that's gonna be it for this video. I really hope you guys enjoyed watching, and it's fun little Q&A. It might run on a lot longer than I expected. I don't know how long this recording is, but it's probably gonna be up there, and I'm gonna have to edit it and trim it down and such. But yeah, so time for the announcement, which I am very excited to bring to you guys. So following the YCS Niagara weekend, I actually have been talking to my friends who I've been wanting to speak to about this for some time, and I finally felt like I proved myself adequately on a competitive scale to be able to do this. So I am now officially, proudly on a part of Team Evolve Gaming. The logo is on screen right now, and you might have actually noticed my channel banner changed yesterday. But yeah, I'm on Team Evolve, which is a Philly-based team, very up and coming. We have a lot of awesome players, we have a very great atmosphere, and our goal is not just to win. We obviously want to win, and we're obviously striving to be as competitive as we can, but our broader goal in mind is to, as our name suggests, is to evolve the community and to push the boundaries of what people consider optimization of deck building, and try and get players to be as best as they can possibly be. So I very much do share this vision, and I think that's very congruent to what I feel I created this channel on. So I think that our ideas are very much in alignment. So I'm very much proud to be representing Team Evolve, and I actually am going to be posting some content based on a recent online tournament that we have been doing. So be on the lookout for that. But yeah, definitely do subscribe to Evolve Gaming's YouTube channel. We also have other social media platforms that I will be pinning in the comment section down below. We have like a Twitter and all that fun stuff. And yeah, so that's my big announcement. I really was wanting to be on this team for a very long time. but I didn't want to put myself out there too much until I felt like I really have been adequately competent as far as my achievements and credentials are concerned. So with that in mind, I want to thank you guys again for tuning into this 1,000 subscriber special video. It was a blast to plan and record and do all this stuff, and you got to see some of my penguins. You might have noticed I have a lot of penguins, but that's actually not even half of them. So besides that out of the way, thank you guys so much for watching the video. Hope you guys did enjoy. Definitely leave a like if you did, as well as any thoughts or feedbacks in the comment section down below. Be sure to feel free to subscribe if you want to see informative Yu-Gi-Oh content that I post on a regular basis. And if you want to, you can follow me on Discord, Twitter, or Twitch. All 3 links are in the description as always. Thank you guys again so much for watching. And until next time, I have to burp, and I'll catch you in the next video. See you guys. Oh, you thought the video was over? Well, it is. I just have to put all these guys back. See you guys.